as a multi-restaurant owner, I'm going to share with you one of the biggest mistakes that I made in my last 6 years. And this has to do with concept. Often we want to open restaurants that we're really passionate about, that we really, just want to share with people. But the reality is the community does not always necessarily look for it or maybe even want it. So it's really important to come up with a concept that people want. A joke that my friend and I have is that we always say the phrase, give the people what they want. And that is actually kind of true. So in 2020, I opened my first Vietnamese restaurant, and I want you to keep in mind that I live in a very meat and potatoes area, so Vietnamese food is not totally familiar with people. And I knew that when I opened this, I had to do some convincing and educating and sharing with people what the food was. And then my business grew during COVID, believe it or not, because I promoted things through social media. I built a bit of a following. So then in the same year, I actually opened a larger location. And also it was a Vietnamese restaurant. So now I have 2 locations, the same brand, same menu in the same city. And of course, this is where I went wrong because they were only 10 minutes apart. They're way too close to one another. And quite frankly, the city did not need another Vietnamese restaurant, the same brand, everything. And I noticed this with my sales. If the smaller one was closed, everyone just went to the bigger one anyways, and I'd do the same amount of sales as if I had 2 open. And I knew this was happening, but one of the biggest challenges for me was I actually had a baby, so it was hard for me to make big changes during this time. So fast forward, things weren't working. I ended up shutting this one down, and then it became vacant for a little while I was trying to figure things out. So then I had to put something in the space because I have a lease. It's a great space, I love it. Then I went and opened a Japanese restaurant. And I didn't just open a Japanese restaurant that had sushi, which is what most people think of when they think of Japanese food here. I went with Japanese comfort food, so it became a ramen spot. And again, that was a bit of a sell. So now I've got 2 restaurants, both with pretty unique concepts for my area, and this requires a lot of marketing. At this point, this one is doing well, it's got a following, but it could still use more work. We could always use more customers. This one had no customers. It was starting off from the beginning, and I required so much of my time to actually market it that it just made more sense for me to spend my time marketing this one. So what happened was I ended up selling this one, and it was great. I got out, and it's still there to this day, and it was a happy ending. So then this one is gone. So then I had just this one restaurant, and then more recently I opened my bigger restaurant, which is a Chinese food restaurant. In my area, Chinese food is not foreign. Everyone knows what a chicken ball is. Everyone knows what egg rolls are. So marketing this was incredibly easy. So much so that now we have so much business at this restaurant that we can actually funnel customers into this restaurant. Our customer journey looks like, you find us because of this concept, but what we really want is for you to come and try this concept, because believe it or not, it's actually more profitable than doing this. Chinese food is incredibly labor intensive, whereas Vietnamese food is not as bad, and the cost of goods are also not as bad. So we want people to come here. Now, one step further than that is I actually have a catering business as well. So those are things like, we'll do sandwich trays, basically big platters and stuff for people. So then we've got our catering business. And ultimately, catering is where we want to go because you know exactly how many people you're serving, so you know how much food you're ordering, you know how much labor you're going to need, it's guaranteed sales. So in terms of profitability, this is where we want to be. So now we funnel customers from this restaurant to this restaurant because the ones that we want to serve catering to are generally the ones that own businesses, they work in institutions, they work at local colleges and schools. They're the ones that are very likely to order catering. And a lot of them actually do order from this restaurant already. Don't get me wrong, this one does too, so we can easily funnel customers here. But at the end of the day, we want people to order catering, whether that's non-Asian food or Asian food. So I want you to think about when your customers find you, what kind of experience do you want them to go through and how they're going to spend more money? Because if you don't have multiple sources of revenue in your business right now, you really want to consider that. So that's things like catering, third-party delivery, meal planning, special events. There is so much opportunity. There's so much more juice out of the lemon to be squeezed. So hopefully this has helped. And if you have any questions, feel free to send me a message. I am on the hunt to connect with more restaurant owners who are looking to get out of their day-to-day business and want to focus more on strategy like this. So if you're interested, comment below and we'll connect.